going on to the next topic, I watched another thing on Netflix, a Netflix original film that was recently released on Netflix. But it's a little different. It's a foreign film actually. It's spoken in Spanish. You're given the option to like watch it dubbed, but like it's really weird doing that. Like it's another thing to do that with anime because like the anime, characters, their like mouths just kind of go up and down. There's no like actual verbal inflections that you can detect by watching like the characters' mouths. But like when it's live action, it's like I can't do this. It's really weird. So I mean, we just watch it and read the fucking subtitles. I know it's hard. I know it probably draws a lot of people off, but let's just talk about this film. It's called The Platform, and you can stream it on Netflix right now. If you're unfamiliar with The Platform, the basic plot of it, I would kind of consider it a concept film. Kind of how The Purge is kind of a concept. It takes a concept and makes a film about it. Like The Purge, what if there was one night a year where all crime was legal, including murder? Okay, interesting concept. But that's kind of a bad example because it's kind of a shitty film because they take this really interesting idea and they just create a generic shitty slasher horror film out of it. This one's different. I think it's a really good concept film, sort of kind of like a Saw, or I don't know why this is coming to mind, but a film called Circle, which I think is on Netflix. I watched it on Netflix. It's about 32 people are in a room, and every 10 minutes someone gets offed, someone dies, and actually everyone in the room can actually vote who it is next, which is a really interesting concept. And I think they pull it off well, and I think they pull off this concept well. So let me just get around to what the concept is. So in The Platform, there is a vertical prison with different levels, and there's 2 prisoners on each level. You don't know how many levels there are, but what you know is that there's a lot of levels. There's a lot of fucking levels. Like this thing goes down really far, and there's like a gap. There's like a space in the middle of each level, and this platform gets lowered every level. It's just a platform that just goes down, and this platform has a shit ton of food on it, like gourmet, really awesome food. And it goes all the way down each level one at a time. So, and people at the top can get as much as they want, but people at the bottom usually get absolutely nothing. But the trick of this is these prisoners stay on the level that they've been designated for an entire month. And every month you get transferred to a new level, and this level is randomized. So next 1 month you're on level 24, the next level you're on fucking 100, So, and obviously the lower you are, the more fucked you are pretty much with food. And this kind of leads to a lot of suspense, a lot of whole creepy and intense shit happening, because if you're on a lower level, you might have to do some things that you're uncomfortable with doing, and so you can survive. So yeah, and you are with a cellmate, so that may or may not have to be a food source. So yeah, very interesting film. I kind of it's one of those films that's kind of like a hidden gem a little bit. I will say, the film itself is actually quite topical right now, with this whole toilet paper shortage and paper products and hand sanitizer. And now I just went to Target recently, what it was like, 2 nights ago. And even food is going, canned goods are just kind of flying off the shelves. They're pretty much empty. So, this problem of just conservation and rationing, the whole concept of the film is that there's enough food on this platform, in theory, for it to make it all the way down with people getting enough. If they would ration and if they would conserve their and have like certain portions that they would figure out. But here's the thing, people aren't like that. People like to stock up. They like to hoard things for themselves because they don't give a shit if the next person gets it or not. They're worried about themselves. And that's kind of what happened with toilet paper. Everyone just decided to start buying toilet paper, and now no stores have toilet paper anymore because everyone bought it all, which is insane. Like, why toilet paper? Like, I don't understand. Like, how it is like, oh, pandemic happens, toilet paper shortage. How the fuck? What? Okay, whatever. But, it's a thing, Try to, have enough for the next person. And that's kind of the whole concept of this film. And I liked how the film really played into those ethical, like fundamental ethical kind of concepts in like different ways. Like, are people evil for, turning to cannibalism when they're, on level 198, I mean, again, I don't want to spoil how many levels there are, but there, like I said, there's like hundreds. But spoiler, there's a lot of levels. So, like, do you blame these people for doing what they have to do? Do you blame the people at the very top for just kind of hoarding? Because maybe those people at the top spent a whole month down below, and now they're just like, oh, if I might not get up here again, let me just take advantage of it and like eat whatever the fuck I want. Fuck them, fuck the other people. They wouldn't do the same for me. It's kind of that whole mentality. It's just like, oh, you wouldn't conserve for me, so why should I conserve for you? That type of mentality. And it plays with that whole ethical type of dilemma that, like, what would you do in like this type of situation? Would you try to conserve? After a couple of months and some experiences that you've had with a certain cellmates, would you conserve or wouldn't you? And that's kind of a thing that the film deals with, and really cool. I mean, interesting roundabout way. Another thing, I mean, again, it's kind of hard to tell with the dialogue and delivery of the lines, and especially with the acting, because it's a foreign film, and I don't speak Spanish, so I had to read subtitles, and I miss things. So that's something that you have to take into account with a foreign film like this. But I mean, I thought the dialogue scenes in the film were really well done and very interesting and kind of intense, and stuff like came back to play later on in the film, which I thought was really cool, and I really liked that. Just the fundamentals of filmmaking here are really strong. Like, again, the main actor, I don't want to butcher his name, but his name's Ivan Montague? I don't know. Also, the director, I think, does a really great job. Gauder Gastello Eurochia? It's such a terrible butchery of his name. I am sorry. But, the acting, I think, is spot on from everyone involved. The cinematography is really good. The lighting is particularly good, and so is the sound design. I think the sound design really, I mean, again, I watch my films with like really high quality headphones, so I can I pick up on all that stuff. But the sound design was really cool. I liked that a lot, especially when like people are eating, when they're like kind of just like slurping on whatever they're doing. That's kind of, it just like kind of makes the whole atmosphere of the film just disturbing and like puts you on edge. So that's definitely something that was kind of important. I think the sound was very important. I think there was some certain there was one something that kind of bugged me a little bit throughout the film was when there were steady dialogue scenes between two characters, the camera was handheld and it was shaking a little bit. And I'm just like, can we just put the fucking camera on a tripod and just let me read the subtitles and enjoy a good intense dialogue scene without the camera shaking, giving me fucking motion sickness? It wasn't ridiculous Bourne Identity action scene shaky cam, but it was just little unsteady cam. It's just can we just keep the camera still? I think there was certain say maybe when they're two characters are talking to one another, they're talking to each other from across the cell, across this platform. I think it would be kind of interesting to have a POV shot of the person who's being spoken to, like looking at the other person who's speaking. I think that would be kind of cool. Capture the whole isolation of the whole thing, even though you're not isolated, but like you're kind of separated, because just like what are you gonna do if we actually end up going down this level? Like, should I trust you, type of thing? And I feel like that would kind of enhance the whole aspect a little bit, especially during the dialogue scenes. I don't know how well that would work, but something different than having the camera start shaking when you're trying to, like, I'm trying to read subtitles. It was a little bit disorienting, but it kind of gives me a little bit into certain criticisms that I have of the film, because the film is not perfect. I thought the motivation of the main character, to like who goes in the prison, like his motivation, like he actually volunteers to go into the hole, or this vertical prison, and I guess it's for some like educational diploma that he's getting after his 6-month stay in the hole or this prison. Like he stays in it for 6 months and he gets a diploma for it. I'm like, okay, I guess. It was kind of weird. I don't know. I didn't really understand it. I mean, granted, he didn't really know exactly what he was getting into. But yeah, obviously he regretted it once, he experienced it. But yeah, I thought you could have found a better reason for him to be there other than some fucking diploma that he was getting. But yeah. Also, I think the ending on the very end is pretty weak. I will say that, and that kind of really knocks the film a little bit. Like, I mean, the film in general is really good, but like it's one of those films that just doesn't stick the ending. Like, it leaves you wanting more. Like, it leaves you with a lot of unanswered questions, like, with it. And it's like, well, what happens now? It just kind of ends a little bit. When you're, like, thinking maybe there's, maybe 5 or 10 minutes more than was there. I don't know. It's like I expected something more, a little bit more explanation or a little bit more closure at the end, especially with our main character, because he's gone through this journey of going through this. We'll see what he does go through. And then it just kind of ends and you're like, that's kind of lame. I thought I was going to like actually find out what happens, and you just don't. It's like an ambiguous ending, which I thought was kind of lame. But again, finding an ending to a film like this is probably really hard. I mean, I don't even know how to end my own podcast episodes, let alone a film. So that was kind of, So there, another thing just to kind of quickly mention, there's a decent amount of like religious ties and religious aspects to the film that I thought was kind of cool to pick up on. There was a very sort of religious character that you meet in the film that the main character kind of teams up with, and like sort of like midway through the film, and he's in this whole kind of like, I don't know, type of religious quest you kind of get put on in the film. I know it's kind of confusing. I'm kind of trying to be a little bit vague and non-spoiler type of way of me describing it, but yeah, and like the main character is described as like the Messiah or some shit, and the whole concept of having like after every month being put on a different level, it's kind of plays into the whole reincarnation aspect to it, of the whole thing, and also just kind of where you are on the food chain a little bit, and also kind of where you're at in society. I think there a lot of meaning could be pulled out of this with just real life society, how like certain people are just kind of born into the whole rich environment, or people who are just, get set in the higher levels, and some people just kind of get born into poverty, or kind of get the unlucky draw and getting set in the really low levels and just end up starving to death if they, don't want to eat themselves. So that there's certain stuff that you could probably pull out of this, but I just kind of overall enjoyed the film. Does it have the movie magic, though? Does it have the Mikey's movie magic? Yeah, I think I would say this just kind of pulls it out for me. I think the film is really intense. The concept is really cool and original. It plays with a lot of ethical dilemmas that I thought was very interesting and kind of really cool to kind of see, like, oh, what would I do here, type of deal. The action, what is there, is really intense. It's very suspenseful. It can be pretty scary at times, I will say. If you're kind of if you're not if you're agoraphobe, like if you don't like violence and graphic imagery, I would probably pass on this one. But if that doesn't bother you, check this one out, especially now since it's a little bit, topical with the whole conservation and rationing of, like necessities for others. I think now it's a good film to watch now. But with the whole like ambiguous sort of lazy ending, I think it does kind of just cheat up and pull off the movie magic for me. So I would definitely say it does. I think if you kind of set your expectations low on this one, I think you'll end up having a really good experience. Plus, it's a foreign film too, so it's always good to like support foreign films, I think, and to watch them if you really want to. So it's not every day I watch one of those. So I enjoyed it. I heavily enjoyed The Platform.